All right, good morning, everybody. For all of those that are watching on social or here in Zoom with us, if anybody wants to drop questions, comments for our speakers this morning, we'll make sure to get that to them. And my name is Nikki Caboose. I'm from Palm Beach Tech, VP of Development. And this morning, we are actually talking about e-commerce and the difference between digital and social selling. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so I can share a little bit about you guys, what we do. There we go. Let me know if you can see that. All right. So this morning, again, the topic is e-commerce, digital and social selling. Our speakers this morning, we've got Quint, co-founder and president at MyPhoto, Anelena Longhi, VP of Digital at City Furniture, and Julie Fair, which I hope she joins us because I don't see her hopped on yet this morning. She's a co-founder designer at Versatire. So a little bit about our organization. First, actually, before I forget this, I'm glad I put the slide here. Our sponsor this morning, South Florida Business and Wealth. They've actually sponsored all of our community coffees for the next few months or so. So very much thank you to them. I know they weren't able to hop on this morning, but they actually are supposed to be giving a little talk for us next week as well. So a little bit about our organization. Our whole goal and mission is to build South Florida into a tech hub. And we have a community creed, making sure that we're very inclusive as a community organization that just simply reads, Palm Beach Tech is wholeheartedly committed to building a welcoming, collaborative, and inclusive community for all. We put inclusivity first, engage with others, and are considerate to all and don't sell to people. Here are a few of our members. So with our 4 different membership levels, we've got our small startups all the way to our much larger digital resource, Office Depots, Modernizing Medicine, City Furniture, like we have on this morning. So we've definitely got a big mix. And if anybody wants more information on our memberships, I'd be happy to help with that. A little bit about our events. So this morning, obviously, is our community coffee, which we do every Tuesday at 8 a.m. But then we also have networking and presentations, which are tech talks on Monday nights at 5:30. We've got podcasts every Wednesday, educational workshops every Friday, and of course, different quarterly or annual events that we do as well. I do want to mention, just because we recently announced, we have our annual hackathon coming up Friday through Sunday. It's October 23rd through 25th. The theme this year is going to be Coding for Good, and we're working with a couple local nonprofits. So that one should be exciting. And that one is on our website. It's literally just southfloridatech.com/hackathon. A little bit more on the memberships. Of course, I didn't list all the membership benefits, but a few of the benefits are just access to our customized member profile, to our member platform, different speaking opportunities, exclusive peer groups. Again, you can get more information just at southfloridatech.com. Last but not least, for anybody that's new that's watching, if you'd like to be added to our Slack, it's just southfloridatech.com/Slack, or you can actually text us to 561-250-7206. And if you just text us your email address, we'll actually add you on to our e-newsletters, which go out every Monday. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can get to the important part, all about our speakers this morning. So I want to go ahead and just give this right over to the speakers. If each of you could just introduce yourself, just tell us your name, a little bit about your organization and what you do, and then we can go right into questioning. Dove, I'm going to start with you just because I've got you first on my screen.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. My name is Quint. As Nikki said, I'm the co-founder and president of MyPhoto. You may be familiar with MyPhoto in some of its previous lives, or maybe its most recent live. We were formerly Photo and Go. Before that, we were Polaroid Photo Bar. So we've been around the South Florida area trying to liberate people's photos. That was one of the original taglines. All the way since 2012. It's pretty wild that we've been in this business for a long time. But we've pivoted a couple times, had a couple different business models, a lot of stories along the way, which are maybe for another time. This morning, just here to talk about what we do every day, specifically the last 3 years or so, very relevant, more so than our previous lives when we were more focused on a physical retail type of model, where we're doing all of our customer acquisition online through social, selling, digital selling. Social selling is actually a term that, believe it or not, I had to look up because I was not familiar with that specific term. So it may not be exactly what MyPhoto does, but certainly the digital selling realm is a big part of how we acquire customers every single day. So I'm excited to be here and talking to you guys this morning about a little bit more about that and learning from you guys as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Dove. And then, of course, last but not least, Anelena.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Anelena Longhi. I'm here with City Furniture. I'm currently the VP of Digital, overseeing the e-commerce, digital marketing, and social media departments. A little bit about City. We are actually, I believe last year, one of the fastest growing retailers, furniture retailers. So we've seen some big successes. I see Todd. Thank you, Todd. We are growing exponentially. Of course, our worlds, all of our worlds were turned upside down with COVID. So, I think this discussion is very, very fitting in terms of being digitally savvy. And I think social selling is just one of those components, and it's forced us to be uncomfortable, to be fast, nimble. So I'm really, really excited to be here today and share some of the learnings with you all and learn from you.
Thank you so much, Anelena. So to start off, I want to go straight into the questioning. Do either one of you want to give a really brief overview of what social selling is for those who may not know?
I'm going to be a gentleman and let Anelena go first.
No problem. So I think, traditionally, if you read, I think social selling is also social media marketing. I think there's two components. There's definitely the marketing side, which is the traditional, I'm going to serve you ads, I'm going to shove products down your throat, and I'm going to try to get you to convert. And then there's this now, I think, new social selling component, which is getting your salespeople behind the channels, right? It's walking a little bit away from the automation, the ad serving, and bringing a human touch to that. And I think this is, we're actually starting to test that at City. And that's where there is opportunity. And this is, especially for the furniture industry, customers, it's a long buying cycle, right? And customers want to be able to touch and feel the product, and the browsing process is long, and they want to feel confident in it. And social selling allows you to create relationships more than anything, right? Which that's outside a little bit of the traditional marketing ads where you're just being served. Now, of course, it's on time, it's to the right audience, and there's analytics, and you can reach them where they are at the right time. But social selling is more about building a community. And I think today, more than ever, customers want brands that they trust. And that really allows you to put your sales force behind the channel where your customers are to build that. So I think they work perfectly hand in hand, but it is something of getting your people behind the channel as megaphones for your brand. And it really helps you to build that trust with the consumers.
Perfect. That was a great description, Anelena. And there's a few things that you said in there too that we're going to touch on today in the discussion. So I really appreciate that. So obviously, right now, every aspect of our lives is constantly being shaped by different technologies. And of course, that includes social media, especially with younger generations adopting that more and more and more, to the point where I think it's becoming a part of everybody's life. But it's said that right now, 91% of retail brands are using at least 2 to 3 social media platforms. Can either one of you tell me what are the main social media platforms that you're using to reach your current audience?
So my answer may be a little bit shorter. Like if I could just add on to what Anelena said before on the first question.
Sure.
Because for us, and it's sort of how I responded to the terminology of social selling in my intro. We don't have salespeople. That's not our business model, at least not today. Our average order is probably nowhere approaching what City Furniture's is, right? So the business model at retail, on the showroom floor, whether it be online as well, where they're driving sales in the thousands of dollars. Obviously supports a business model that has individual salespeople. Our average order is in the $65 to $70 range. So it's a little bit different. Interestingly, there's an offshoot of this business that we have dabbled in called wall keepers, which is a concept of a more concierge type of service which would fit a more of a social selling model, a one-on-one relationship building type of thing, where we actually go into your home and we help you spec out an entire wall in a room or multiple rooms. And basically it's a much higher end type of sale. Not really what our main focus is on. We've dabbled in it over the last couple of years, last 3 or 4 years, actually. It's not really a focus right now, but for the MyPhoto brand, it's more of the traditional direct to consumer type of, more automated, if you will, relationship. And it's interesting because, and this is maybe a little bit of a sidebar, but the whole direct to consumer model, the concept is around offering, sort of this direct relationship with the customer and offering some more value than you would get from Amazon or you would get from buying from other middlemen. And so even though, I guess we can't call social selling in the traditional sense by the definition as it relates to, one-on-one type of salesperson type of things, the overall concept, you use the word community. And I think that nails it for a brand like ours, trying to build that type of community where there's additional value and there's a additional type of relationship as compared to going directly to, to sort of a bigger brand, less, more out of touch, less hand-holding type of situation. So not exactly the perfect fit for MyPhoto today, but it sort of explains where we're at as it relates to this. As far as tools, again, similarly, we really focus a lot of our energies on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Google. We've dabbled in some other areas like Pinterest. Obviously, TikTok is a place where people want to play a little bit. The interesting thing, and I'll turn it over to Anelena, is just, being in this space for a little while, the most important thing you could do is try to find those other channels that are a little bit more affordable and are not as competitive. That's what Facebook and Instagram was, 6-7 years ago. CPMs were a lot lower, and it was a different landscape as it related to, you had the population there, you had the audience, but there was way less competition on the advertising side. And now that things like Shopify exist and, people can go and source their own product and they can get, a fancy designer to do this in a couple minutes and a marketer to do that in a couple minutes, everybody's sort of in the game and it's a lot more competitive. So finding the TikToks, the Snapchats, the things that are not as evolved and are sort of in the earlier innings of their growth as marketing channels is really the, the opportunity for today as far as social is concerned.
So for us, we're on Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're starting TikTok. We're testing TikTok because you have to. So some learnings there. But again, I think, that's where from a social selling standpoint, we are really just now getting our sales force to actually become ambassadors, right? That's the idea, is that, for social media, for us, what really works, and as you all know, it's that social proofing, right? Customers don't want us to tell them that we're good. No, they want to hear from their peer and their mom and their sister and their friends. That's what they really want, right? And that's what this social selling allows. It's not just coming from me, right? So having our sales force become ambassadors, and it's on their profiles, right? It's educating them to sell. So we all have, we're all on social media, and it's really empowering them in those conversations to say, hey, just so you guys know, this is what we have going on. Contact me. I'm happy to answer questions. And it's really getting that personal element. So we're really doing that across all channels. Again, we're just sort of in the infancy stages of that, but we are pretty much almost touching all of the channels today.
That's perfect. Yeah. And I don't know, this might be more of a question for you, Anelena, but with social selling being one of, I think, most underutilized tools that a lot of companies may or may not be using, and maybe they're using some of it, but not a lot, it's really helping build, like you were saying earlier, when you started out, was building relationships. I mean, it shortens the sales cycle, really drives ROI for the business. So how have you seen social selling evolve over the past couple of years, especially with new things like TikTok and, all these different social media platforms that people are using more and more and more?
I think it's twofold. I think it goes back, I think previously it was just pushing product, right? And content is king. We all know that. The buying cycle, there's the research phase and then awareness, and then they're making their decision, and then there's transactional. And I think traditionally, the selling component, the conversion, the relationship was really just happening on the back end. The customer was on their own doing their research, right, and learning, and they were on an island. And I think now what's evolving is that the brands are now able to come in much sooner. So you can actually build that relationship in the research phase, which really helps to build that trust. And I think now it's, let us be a partner when you're on this journey. Oh, now I know that, I understand a little bit more intent. There's analytics. So you can say, well, I know that now you're in the market for this. What are you looking for? So I think you're really building that dialogue with the consumer much earlier in the journey. And, for me, I think that's really been the biggest shift. Is before it was a little bit, it's prospecting. It's let me blast everything, but it's not connecting, right? It's just it's just another post in your feed. And I think now it's really becoming a little bit more personal, and it's not just the brand talking, right? It's not just marketing anymore.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a perfect point, because that was actually my very next question was, and I think both MyPhoto and City Furniture, you guys are doing, I think, both of a little bit of both sides, but Dove very much is on the marketing side of it. And we've definitely seen a shift from marketing departments using this to, now you were saying, the social selling is being used by salespeople. So, for both of you, I guess, what do you think are the major similarities and differences between social selling being used from within marketing departments to now the salespeople picking this up as well?
I mean, I think it's just about, not to be repetitive, but it's about building a relationship. So whether you're doing it from the brand side even, and again, I go back to the model that all these DTC companies have sort of built the foundation of what they're doing on, is this idea and this concept that they're building a relationship. They're going to be there for you. They're offering a high level of service. They're offering you value. They're not trying to hoodwink you and do, on Tuesday, we're going to give this discount, on the next Monday, we're going to get a different discount. And right, it's about, we're going to offer you value. We're going to have everyday sort of fair pricing all the time. Treating you like, the whole concept is to treat you like a human being and not like somebody that they're just trying to convert. Like Anelena was saying, it was all about just sell product, right? Mm-hmm. And now you see stuff like, different types of content, not just for SEO purposes, right? Before it was like, we're going to fill the feed of our blog on our website with all these, meaningless sort of, types of things. But, when you have all these other platforms, whether it's a blog, whether it's video, whether it's social, just adding that value and building a relationship. If somebody is buying furniture, and you can speak to this, well, I'll speak to the photo part. Somebody's buying a photo, right? There's a lot of different components that goes into that process. How can we educate the consumer about, whether it be about the type of material they're going to print on, the type of setting and environment they're going to put that photo in, different things that aren't just buy this, right? Buy my photo. And I'm sure for furniture, it's a similar type of thing. Don't just buy this couch, right? It's where is this going to make sense? Where's it going to fit? What's the feel of the room? What's the feel of the piece of furniture? But you can speak more to that than I can. So it's just about offering that value more so than ever before.
Yeah, I'm completely aligned with you. I think that's absolutely right. And I think with the shift, it's, in terms of the similarities, right, between the marketing and the marketing team and the salespeople, we all want to sell stuff, right? We're retailers.
At the end of the day, we all need to sell stuff.
Exactly right. But I think, and I'm not sure if this will be, completely long-term, but I think that shift is starting to come from the marketing team. It's really about the brand, right? Who you are, what you stand for as the brand. And the salespeople are almost their mini brands, right? They're becoming the advocates that just build the relationship so that you choose the brand, right? So they're almost an extension of the brand. So I think the similarities, we're all there for the same purpose, right? And as long as there's the right synergies, we all win. If all of a sudden conversions go down on the traditional tactics of marketing and the conversion is not necessarily happening, right then and there, well, if the longer tail cycle, the salespeople now, these prospects that we just acquired from a marketing standpoint came into the funnel, and now our sales floor is starting to convert them, then it's a win-win overall. So I think that they're complements. I think they're synergies. And I do think some of the differences is that they're cut from a different cloth. The sales team is, that's how they make their money. It's every single conversion. So I think that there's definitely a way that you have to marry that so that the brand still becomes the heart of the message. And you don't lose that, right? But I think, I think there's certainly some differences, and some education definitely has to happen as you roll this out to ensure that you don't completely go off the rails.
If I could just jump in, because there's a friction there, right? I'm curious about how you deal with traditionally brand building, is a longer game, right? It's not, you're not going to see that return right on that initial, piece of content or whatever you're doing. So you have, you have a marketing department that's interested in one thing, you have salespeople that are interested in something else. Yeah. And there could be a friction there. So I'm curious how you guys organizationally sort of deal with that friction and those competing objectives.
Yeah, it's not easy. There definitely is friction. One of the things actually that through COVID, and this is still social selling, but it's more on the e-commerce side. One of the things specifically with web, with e-commerce and our brick and mortar, there was a lot of friction, right? We want people to convert online, and we want people to convert in store. And I think, taking a step back and making sure we're all aligned on the bigger goals. And it's if City Furniture can build relationships with customers, can make, our revenue targets, then we all win. And I think there's a lot of education that has to happen to understand, hey, this is just the window to the showroom. Customers are going to go here, they're going to browse, and let them choose where they feel comfortable converting. And I think, we definitely have, from a payment structure, there is compensation if you go into the showroom and you convert online. So I think it's really building a system of trust among the associates so that we are all one team for that end goal, which is let's build a relationship and a lifelong customer base. And I actually just want to touch on with COVID, one of the things that changed was chat and phone sales. So of course, with COVID, shutting everything down, we were nimble, we changed, and big kudos to the organization for standing behind these strategies that were implemented. We now have an entire sales force. It was actually the sales team dedicated to e-commerce sales behind the chat and behind the phone. So, and I think we'll get to this a little bit in the future, but in terms of the long term, it is omni-channel. We are talking about online, offline. You're on the website, then now you make a phone call. That's what's going to build that experience. And that has helped instituting those two channels with actual sales folks behind them. It's really helped to bridge the gap. So I think, to your point, it's education. It's working as partners and talking about this is what the customer is doing. A lot of them don't have visibility into that. Look at this is the customer journey, and this is the part that we play. We are just trying to get you the lead. So I think, it's a lot of work, and it's a challenge, I think, in a lot of organizations. It's not unique to us by any means, but it's something that, we're continuously conscious of and trying to improve.
Yeah, and I love that you guys both, I would say I love that both of you guys brought up the, just the perspective from sales versus marketing, because I know that that's a big thing within social selling is a lot of, there's two departments a lot of times. The end goal is the same, but a lot of times they don't see eye to eye. So it's always that, argument over why do we even need a sales team if marketing's doing so well, or why do we need marketing if sales does it all? And so it's always that back and forth. So I feel like if the two can connect a little bit more, the two departments, I think everybody would see more eye to eye, but I'm really glad you guys brought that up because I know that that's a big topic within social selling as well. I did want to actually ask you both, just as you guys were talking, I was thinking about the phone versus like using chat boxes, on the web. Are either one of you, City Furniture or MyPhoto, using the chat functions right now on the website? And how is that going, I guess?
Yeah, I'll go first. We're using it. It's interesting. I feel like it sometimes depends on the brand and the type of thing that you're selling, as far as how, you know, how good it can be for you. It's something everybody's got to try and see how it works for their brand, you know, just trial and error it. I would say, you know, for us, we deal some of our demos a little bit older, and so there's a little bit of an intimidation with technology. But if they can work their way around the chat function and then utilize, for us, you know, we have you upload a photo, right? You have to get something from you in order to do what you need to go do on our website. And sometimes it's a challenge for some of the older folks. So using chat with the ability to screen share specifically, actually, where we can sort of point you in a certain direction and show you where certain things are to teach you that education through the chat function has been really useful for us. But you know, sometimes I'm not sure that it works. You know, I've been on certain websites where as a consumer, where it's not all it's cracked up to be. You know, this whole idea about, is it really a live person? Is it a bot? If it is a bot, is the bot actually good, right? And some are better than others. So I think it's an evolving technology as far as that's concerned. It'll eventually get there where you'll feel like you're talking to a human being. I'm not quite sure it's there yet for all the software that's out there, but that's sort of been our experience with chat. You mentioned phone, so I'll just jump in on phone right now. We cut the phone out completely, which is an interesting move. We've had it in the past. You know, but again, this balance, you know, we're just full disclosure, we're not as big as City Furniture. They're a little bit of a bigger company than we are, if you didn't get that yet. And so this balance between allocating resources in the most, you know, efficient manner. And for us, we found ourselves on the phone for, you know, hours with people, helping them through the process. And it just was not a good use of our time. So we've done away with the phone, but we're really leaning into chat to see if that's something that can be a helpful tool for our audience.
But much of the same, you know, chat is something that's been successful for us, specifically getting more of a sales oriented organization behind it. Previously, it was really just mainly our customer care department. And I think since making that shift, it's proven very fruitful. But again, you know, I think to your point, one of the things is the KPIs, right? And the goals that you hold people accountable to in whatever selling medium you're on. One of the big things with customer care was average handle time, average speed to answer, and it's very transactional, right? They just want to get in, solve your problem, get out. And as soon as we made the shift to sales running it, the customer comments and the feedback was incredible. Oh, the sales team was so wonderful. They took the time to help me, and we have chats and you know, they're like talking to the customer for like 2 hours, but our AOV can support that, right? So that's a little bit different because the ticket is so much bigger, and the longer you spend, hey, you know what? I think you need to redo your guest room too, you know, and so that conversation lends itself, and it makes sense to allow for that. But I think, you know, once you have certain KPIs, you have to make the decision of what channel to be on and what purpose does it serve. So I think, you know, of course, the goal setting is very important, but for us, the journey that we actually try to get people from chat onto phone. So we're actually trying to, so you're on the site, you start chatting with us, we want to get you on the phone. The conversion rates on the phone are much higher than chat, right? Chat, you can just bounce. I'm tired of talking to you, I'm done. And the phone's a little bit different. So creating that customer journey. And a lot of times, you know, when they're on the phone, they try to get that in-store appointment. So everything has really revamped over the past 5 months because of COVID. And I think now we're learning what this new normal is. And it really is this multi-touch buying cycle, if you will, than it was previously. It was a little bit more transactional, and now it's a little bit different.
I'm wondering if you guys have dabbled at all with, there's some technologies out there that are exciting as it relates to video chatting type of stuff on the website, especially related to having a showroom with stuff that you want to show, if you guys have tried that at all.
Yeah, so we're actually, we are doing Zoom. We have virtual appointments available. So you can actually book a time with a sales associate, and they're in the showroom so they can show you the product and you know, without the customer leaving the comfort of their own home. So we are doing that, and we're actually going to be integrating the video functionality within our chat experience. It's not live today, but it is something that we're looking toward 2021.
But I asked that, and it's just, that's what I wanted to ask him. So I'm glad you answered that. But right before I asked the question, you're talking about how the goal on chat is to get them to get on the phone, and the goal on the phone, again, I'm sure it's not the only goal, but is to get them in the store.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting, again, when you have the physical retail component and you have the type of product that you guys offer, it's not so obvious. This goes to the whole point of this entire conversation, that it's not just about closing that sale right there, because maybe that's not the most realistic thing to do with what you're selling. Maybe it's not the best bang for your buck. You get them in the store, you sell them X amount more dollars of stuff, right? When they're there, physically there. It's just a fascinating way to look at the entire journey of what you guys do.
It's tricky.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I did want to ask kind of like, I guess a part two to that question is, I know right now, I think you might know this better, Anelena, but I think the statistic is like, I think 1/3 of all like online consumers actually prefer social media, selling or like using like say the chat boxes or DMs or whatever it may be, to get in touch with these brands.
Mhm.
And that number is continually rising with the younger generation. So how do you guys see like the future of e-commerce and social selling moving forward?
I think it's to operationalize social selling, right? I think right now we're still learning what that is, but I think it's figuring out how to do that, how to empower and standardize that process so that anybody can do it. And that's I think the future. I do believe that, for us on having brick and mortar physical stores, for anybody that has that, I do think it'll eventually just become a part of that, right? Just like you having to have prospect and phone leads and salespeople are responsible for also driving their own traffic and all of that. I think that the social component will become a requirement and part of the day-to-day of any one salesperson. And so I think, to your question, it'll just be that it's operationalized. This is how you build your profile. This is how you understand your customers. This is when you should talk to them. There's tons of social cues out there, right? If a customer is posting about, oh my gosh, look at how, my bare wall, I really want some inspiration on how to build a gallery wall. I'm making this up, but it's really listening. And I think it'll be just built into the sales team's daily practice. It's time to go on social media, identify your prospects, build that, build your pipeline. And I think in the future it will just be something that they do.
It's interesting. Sorry if I could just cut in. There's risk in building an entire sort of strategy based on this as it relates to, just what the sort of rules are going to be, right, around social. I mean, we've seen how much it's changed already just as it relates to the targeting.
Yep.
About what you were able to do just a few short years ago, as far as the information you had access to and how you could reuse that and things like that. So it'll be fascinating to see how this whole concept of selling this way evolves. But there's a risk there, because you're at the control of these bigger social media companies and potentially government involvement. There's different aspects of this that you just out of your control as a brand. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's where the sales force, they're not privy to that. I mean, trust me, people will go out there and say anything to sell anything. And, that's where I think that partnership really comes in. But absolutely, I think to that end, it's everything digitally, it's being nimble, right? It could be gone tomorrow. Then what do? You have to be innovative and you have to react. And you're absolutely right. Third-party data, probably not going to be very accessible to us in the future. It's all going to be about your own first-party data. So how do you react? How do you change? So completely aligned. There's definitely a risk to have all the eggs in this basket for sure.
Anelena, and I'm not sure, you might know this answer, I guess, with like the sales force, but I'm curious because I know that they say about 80% of like social salespeople outsell their peers that are not using social media, especially like, and I guess this includes B2B as well, but, and it's very different than the old fashioned like cold calling, watching your phone time models, which I know I was very much a part of when I started in sales. But I'm just wondering, with the transition to social selling and now more and more salespeople are doing that how are companies, including, I guess, City Furniture, tracking or evaluating sales reps, like, and their time or their activities that are being spent on social selling?
That's a great question. We're still testing and learning. We're still figuring that out. I don't have that. I wish I had the silver bullet answer for you, but I think the most important thing is to just start. You know, depending on what your sales processes are, if the sales team has to log their prospects or log their customers, ensuring that you're capturing and asking the question, well, where did you see us and where did you come from, right? And if you are building that relationship, start capturing what channel they came from. Where did you get them, so that you can actually just start to learn. And that's really what we're doing right now. We have a few sales associates just testing and starting to talk about the sales and actually promoting and inviting and engaging in this one-on-one. And I think within the first week, one of our sales associates had like $6,000 in sales from the channel. Not monitored, because we're testing and learning, and we'll get to the end with what my recommendation is. But you know, I think eventually it'll become more robust. And I think understanding, you know, once you put the standards in place, is looking at their network growth, right? So how many followers do you have? Is the content that you're putting out there engaging, right? So that's where really the marketing KPIs come in to help understand what is happening with this content that the Salesforce is putting out there. So I think very manual, but for now, for us, it is very manual, but I think we need that to be able to understand where are the gaps and where can we come in with leadership and assist with tools, right? I think it's first understanding what's happening and then going from there.
It's a good lesson for anything in business, that when you're trying to do something new, you know, you need to have a little bit of flexibility to maybe not have it done perfectly, exactly how it needs to be down the line, just so you can go through that learning process and see what works and what doesn't.
Exactly.
What do they call that, Todd, in your world? Is it an MVP? Is that what they call it, Todd? I want to get a little engagement, Todd.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. But I mean, that's what was his name? The founder of LinkedIn said that if you are pushing out your new feature and it, you know, you're waiting until it's perfect, you're waiting too long. And that's, you know, it's actually part of agile methodology, which I'll be talking about on Thursday, that continuous, like, pushing, deploying, testing, you know, figuring it out and redeploying. So we do that in development. You do that in marketing as well. It's very similar process.
Yeah. If you had a successful deployed, you deployed too late.
Yeah.
I always forget the exact quote, and I have it. I have it in some of my slides somewhere. But
Read off.
I very much subscribe to that.
Yeah.
People are going to start quoting you, Anelena, with that one.
God, I know, right?
Well, I do want to just talk a little bit about, because I know both of you have actually, Dove and Anelena, have mentioned building relationships. I know, Dove, you've talked about even educating consumers. So I want to just ask, what are some of the different ways that maybe some of the people that are listening, some of the companies that say, I don't use social selling, I don't know if maybe I'm doing it and I don't realize I'm doing a little bit of it, and how can I do this better? What are some of the most effective social selling techniques that you have used?
You want me to take this one?
Yeah, we don't really do social selling.
I think you do more of it than you realize, Doug. I follow you guys online. Yeah.
Maybe not from this. I'm stuck in the salesperson type of model that is really seems to be the main aspect of this. But Anelena, go ahead. I'll add on after you.
I think listen, engage, don't just try to transact. Listen to the customer, right? I think we're all just used to like sell, convert, and having transactional conversations. You have to step a little bit away from that. Understand what the customer's trying to do. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just listen more, listen and engage. And that will be the most effective conversion, tool and get them into the funnel a little bit better. And you'll build a relationship along the way.
Just be real and authentic and not, not fake, because there's a lot of that going on. And I think, this becomes more, I referenced earlier the fact that everybody can put a Shopify store up in a couple minutes and everybody can, go source a product on Alibaba and get somebody on Fiverr to design something. And, there's all these tools out there, which in one respect, it's actually it's analogous to what's happened to photography, actually, in a sense, right? So, which is relevant directly to our business, is that we have this, we say internally, like everybody is a photographer now, right? It used to be, before the iPhone came out, you needed a DSLR camera to take a good photo. Now everybody's a photographer. Everybody thinks they can capture great photos, and then they smack a filter on it, and now they're, you know, they're Picasso, or they're
Ansel Adams.
Ansel Adams, thanks. No, we're not talking about painters. We're talking about photographers. Thank you, Todd. Who's the good fashion photographer? Annie Leibovitz. Does that work? That work for anybody? Okay, good. It's the same thing with building, you know, with building websites today. So you go on Shopify, you have a site in a couple minutes, and you can do all these things very easily. And it's a blessing in one sense, because a lot of people that couldn't be entrepreneurial and get into commerce in that way now have that ability. The downside is there's just so much more noise out there. And so this is one of the ways to stand out, right? That the people that are doing that, they don't have the same maybe resources to focus on these types of things. They're down and dirty, you know, close a sale. Yeah, not focusing on the service. I mean, I bought something. I got to tell you the story. I bought something on Instagram during COVID. Okay. This just goes to show you all the aspects of some of this conversation. I'm from New York, so obviously Instagram knows that about me. And I got targeted with like a puzzle, okay, of the New York City subway system. Piqued my interest. All right, I'm interested. I clicked on it. I buy it, and it was one of these Shopify, you know, sourced out of China type of things. It didn't come for 40 days. Okay, 40 days in the wilderness on the way to get to me. Finally arrived at my door, and it wasn't even the product I ordered. It was something else. And so I emailed them and didn't get an answer for a couple weeks. Then I got an answer. Oh, well, we can't replace it. We can give you a little discount. No, I don't want your discount. I bought the product. Take this back. Oh, well, you're going to have to pay shipping. A, it took you 40 days to get it to me. B, it wasn't even the product I ordered, right? So terrible experience. I'm not going to be ordering anymore from, you know, ABC 123 store, right? Obviously, because there's no value there. There's no brand there. There's no relationship. There's no service. So there's a lot of that out there. But when I'm going through my feed, the ad looked fine, right? The photography was fine. The site was a Shopify site, so it looked okay. So it's just a good example of the opportunity that exists with things like these to stand out from the noise that exists, like, you know, like I had that experience with.
Yeah, and I think too, and I might be off, maybe one of you know better than me, but I know I was reading an article last night about this. It was saying the average consumer now is actually 60% of the way through the sales cycle, like the buying cycle, before they even talk to anybody or go to the website or whatever, that they've already, you know, followed you online, they've liked your stuff, they read a little bit of the comments, they feel like they're a part of your company now. So by the time they buy, or even by the time they even reach out to a rep or whatever, they're more than halfway there. So I think, I don't know, I found that super interesting, just because me coming from the very old-fashioned sales, cold calling, I was always taught working, not working, working, not working. So like, I actually thought social selling just sounded awesome, just with the sales cycle and how fast you can actually turn, you know, I guess a watcher online into an actual consumer. I was looking in comments too here in Zoom. Santiago, thank you for this, because he actually found some of these stats, because as you can tell, I love numbers, but said according to LinkedIn, 45% more sales and opportunities, 51% more likely to hit quota, and 78% of social sellers outsell peers who don't use social media. So those are pretty staggering results. I did want to ask the question of, how do both of you keep up to date with like latest e-commerce trends in social selling, social media trends? I mean, anything, how are you guys actually keeping up to date with that? Or what are some of the things that you may follow?
I can go. Should I go?
Go.
There's just so much out there. I mean, it's impossible to not, you know, follow. You know, there's a couple of great, you know, if anybody's paying attention to what's going on sort of in the publishing world online today, there's a huge move towards newsletters where individual people are, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Substack, the individual writers, journalists, you know, thought leaders, industry leaders are starting their own newsletters. Some are charging for them. There's just so much stuff out there. I mean, I can give you a couple of examples, but you just got to do a little research, and I'd be glad to share with this group also some of the things that I subscribe to. There's just a ton of stuff out there that you can follow about what's going on. So rather than go through them, I can share a list afterwards, but it's almost impossible not to be able to read up about stuff.
Yeah, I agree. It's just research, right? I mean, we have some partners internally. We use Gartner for research and analysis, and but there's, of course, even if there's no budget, there is tons and tons of free content. Digital Commerce 360, again, to your point, it's that newsletter type, right? It's in your inbox. You can really automate these things to stay in the know. Even software, Hootsuite, in terms of social, all of these platforms have white papers. Go in there, read their case studies. There's tons of tactics for you to learn. So, there's definitely tons of places to go in, and we can certainly share more, but Google is
your friend.
It's quite the thing.
Yeah, and for anything that you guys may have too, because we do send follow-up emails to anybody that RSVPs. So we'll make sure to send you guys an email. If you guys have anything that you'd like to recommend, we'll make sure to get that out to the audience watching. So I think maybe, Dove, you had mentioned this in one of the questions a little bit earlier, but the big question I think for all retailers, e-commerce, is how do you compete against Amazon? I know a little bit of what both of you guys do that I think is very different, but I'd love to hear, how you guys, in your opinion, are actually competing against such a big competition there.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's a debate internally. It's like, do you ignore Amazon, which is, what is it now as far as the total pie of e-commerce in this country? I mean, I don't know. Anybody here know the answer? I read it recently what the stat is, but it's startling how much of e-commerce sales it's become. It's like, it goes to this whole thing about building the relationship, right? Amazon, we all shop on Amazon. We all know why we love Amazon, but Amazon, if you're going there as a brand, there are some sacrifices you're going to have to make on data, on experience, on things like that. Even more so with us, and maybe with City Furniture too, about the experience, the buying experience, right? So we couldn't be in this business on Amazon until a couple of years ago, where they introduced the personalization sort of feature where you can actually upload a photo, which they didn't have for a long time. So for us, it was a non-starter until a couple of years ago. I mean, we could have sold, gift cards or certificates on there, but that would have been, not as impactful. Now you can actually sell it as a product where you can, build in this interface to upload a photo, but it's just not the same experience and have all the value that we offer on our website. So do you just say, screw Amazon, I want to build my brand, but then how do you ignore all the people that are there, right? I mean, so it's an interesting debate internally about whether or not to do it. But at the end of the day, it's about it's about the experience. It's about the value from your brand, trying to build a relationship. If somebody buys from me on Amazon, how is MyPhoto building that relationship? I don't get their marketing. I don't get their email. I can't remarket to them. Right. So that's the debate we have internally. Anelena, how about you guys?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same thing. You can't ignore them, right? So you have to understand, how do you coexist? They're not going anywhere. Amazon will be cheaper. They will try to ship you faster, right? They will operate in negative margins if they need to capture market share. So it's tough, right? You have to figure out how to coexist. And Dove, exactly right. Customer experience will prevail. I think that's how you can compete. And Amazon is consistent, right? That what to expect, and that's why people go there. So I think, one of the learnings we've had is, how do we be more consistent? Because you have great experiences and folks that have awful experiences. So I do think it all goes back to the services that you're providing, what you stand for as a brand, because people will gravitate. They will be willing to pay a little bit more if you stand for something that they support. There's a social responsibility component. So at some point, I do think that, brand will actually have a little bit more weight. But you have to figure out how to coexist, and you can have a brand presence on Amazon so that you get the eyeballs, right? That's what they have. They have the eyeballs, but it costs to do that. So I think, to your point, it's figuring that out, and we're figuring that out internally as well. But customer experience will win.
The other part of it is just to think about it also. Sorry, Todd, you want to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, as somebody who's actually a consumer of both of your brands, right? I can say that, although like if I'm going to buy furniture, the first place I'm going is City Furniture, just because of all the experience I've had there. And I mean, my house is not behind me, but in front of me. My house is filled with City Furniture. Behind me, you could see lots of MyPhoto pictures. It's I've engaged with your brand, so it's an easy decision for me. On Amazon, it's all unknown. I'm going to be engaging with a brand through another brand, right? And it just presents all these variables. And like Dove said, I could order something that's going to be here in 40 days. Whereas I know I have familiarity with the quality of both products. And, and personally, if I'm going to buy furniture, I'm going to want to go and I'm going to want to sit on it. I'm going to want to go touch it. I'm going to want to go feel it. I know the quality of MyPhoto. I know if I order a picture from MyPhoto exactly what I'm getting. Whereas if I order through Amazon, there's other choices.
But you
I
have to
just
buy
don't
that
know what
first
I'm
time,
getting.
though. You have to buy that first time.
That's right. That's the thing is for your supporters, it's easy, right? So it's how do you get the new
You
ones?
don't let them down. I was going to say, just thinking about it a different way, not necessarily, to be on Amazon or to not be on Amazon, but it's Amazon has created in the shopper's brain has created certain expectations. So a big thing that we try to do at MyPhoto is, everything is crazy easy, crazy fast. We ship everything custom item. We ship everything 2-day air, and we try to turn it around. We have a 5-day promise, but we try to beat it by 1 or 2 days every time, right? That's one of the main things with Amazon is speed that people have gotten used to, and they have a certain expectation. So even if you're not on Amazon, try to match the expectation for what they've sort of created in the buyer's mindset.
Yeah, and I very much can say a ditto to what Todd was saying, because I know for me, ever since I started, like, I mean, I'm gonna just put this out there. I know Janet Winko knows this, but I started fangirling over her like 2 years ago. Anything she was at or any panel she was in, like, I love the whole City Furniture, like the recruiting and HR team, like, and now working with you guys through Palm Beach Tech. I mean, I've gotten to get to know a lot more of like the IT team and all of that. And same thing, with you guys at MyPhoto, is just that I personally, just in working with you guys, I feel such a connection that like for instance, my husband and I right now, we're looking to move and buy a home. I've already told him City Furniture. I felt like I'm cheating on them if I don't. I'm like, the whole house has to be their furniture. And it's funny, Dove, I haven't even told you this yet, but like even for Christmas, I've already decided everybody's getting MyPhoto this year for the family. So hopefully none of them are watching right now, but yeah, it's just, you start to build relationships with the company and that you almost feel guilty not using them. And so for me, I'm one of those people, I'm not a big Amazon buyer like a lot of people are, just because I really prefer to buy from companies where I feel like I do have a relationship or know somebody there, or could, yes, pick up the phone or use chat and actually get a real person. So I think that was actually super important what Todd was saying as well. We are almost right at time. So I just want to finish up this with one final question to both of you is, what advice would you give for companies that are maybe struggling to convert traffic right now? Looking at, obviously we're in COVID, holiday season is coming up. Like, what advice would you give them if they're like, okay, I need to start with this social selling thing. What's my first step? What should I do?
I honestly, I think, and this is the key to anything, it's just start. It's start something, test it, be okay with failing and learn from it and take those learnings. I think just get out there, start talking, and it's social media, ask. They will tell you, your customers will tell you, right? Start to ask, what do people want to hear about? How do they want to, what do they want to see? And I think it's just start the conversation, listen to the customers. And I think you'll learn more than you expect, and hear more than you asked for too. But it's just start. I think that's the big thing I can say.
Agree. And maybe this is a little ambitious, but maybe through all of this, people have become a little bit more humane and in some way. And this relationship type of thing maybe is more important than it ever was, because people think a little differently, or maybe not. I don't know, to be determined. But hopefully the hopeful part of us that we can end on a hopeful point is that that's the case, and that this relationship type of building actually, means something. People are looking for it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And I think too, I mean, this is a whole nother topic, but is just with the younger generations. I mean, they're very much all about what a company stands for. You know, are they maybe everything could be everything from social justice to maybe if they're using, you know, safe products for their, you know, families or whatever it is, but they're definitely all about like the company and what the company stands behind and what they're about than I think just the transactional. So I do see that changing more and more, which I'm actually really happy about. I think that's the way it should be personally, but yeah, so we are actually, it's literally right on the dot, 9 a.m. So perfect timing. Thank you, both of you. And thank you everybody that come and joined us this morning. I know it was super early at 8 a.m. And of course, we are going to be putting this back out on YouTube as well for anybody that missed it. And like I said, Anelena or Dove, if you guys have anything that you'd like to share, we will make sure to email everybody and send them some content or, you know, any websites you guys want to share, anything at all. But again, thank you so much, you guys, for coming this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.